Mary Mac Bakehouse will be at the second annual Strawberry Pretzel Salad Standoff at the Mall at Robinson this Saturday, April 22nd, from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Stop by the rotunda at the mall and try a bunch of different kinds of strawberry pretzel salad and vote for your favorite. The winning team gets $500 for their charity of choice. Ours is the Western Pennsylvania Parkinson Foundation. That's this Saturday, April 22nd, 11:30 a.m. at the Mall at Robinson.
Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today's recipe is for blueberry butter bars. I have been playing around with these for several weeks now, going into several months now, and I finally got them where I like them. I was looking for a different kind of a recipe that uses blueberries. For some reason, they've been in the grocery stores like the last couple months, really good blueberries and at a very good price. So I've been making all sorts of things, and I thought, I wonder if there's anything out there like a bar cookie or something like that, you know. So I found this recipe that was really weird. So I played around with it a little bit, and I came down to this. So I'm calling them blueberry butter bars because several years ago, we did a podcast we called Caramel Butter Bars, which were a really good bar cookie that has melted caramel in the middle. This is a pretty similar recipe. Not completely similar, but pretty similar to that. You could either use this as a bar cookie or as a square dessert sort of a thing, you know, like almost like pie, but not cake, and, you know, just a nice little good buttery blueberry dessert. So my family has eaten quite a lot of these over the last couple. We tried them vegan. We tried it, the original recipe, which was weird. And then we tried the different way. And then we tried vegan, whatever. So we came down to this. You can make these vegan because really the only ingredient is butter, or if you want them to be non-dairy rather. But you have to remember that the dough is going to come out a little bit different because there's more moisture in those type of spreads. So you have to watch that. If you can get the vegan spread in stick form, it will work better. So this is very easy to make, like I said, dairy-free or vegan, and it comes out great if you use real butter, good butter. It's a delicious, buttery shortbread sort of bar cookie. So here we go. You'll need a 9x13 pan, which it's going to be lightly greased. You'll need a pastry cutter, or you can use 2 forks, or you can use your food processor if you want to do that. I did not use my food processor. I used my fancy schmancy pastry cutter. This is the crust or shortbread part of the cookie, and it's very much like shortbread, really. So you need 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of cold butter cut into small cubes, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla. For the filling, you need 4 cups of fresh blueberries. That's 2 pints or 1 quart, whatever the size is they come in the store, but it'll say that on there. A 1/2 cup of granulated sugar and 4 teaspoons of cornstarch. And then the topping is going to be half of your first shortbread mixture with 2 teaspoons of cold water added. So the first thing you want to do is mix your blueberries with a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar and 4 teaspoons of cornstarch. Stir those up together and let them set aside while you do the rest of your mix. I should note here that I did try this one time with frozen blueberries, and it worked really well. But what I did was I measured out the blueberries and then poured them out onto a baking sheet and let them thaw completely before I did the recipe, because I was afraid it would be too much moisture in it, leaving them cold at all. So I let them thaw at room temperature, and it worked fine. Okay, here we go. You've got your blueberries in a bowl with your granulated sugar and cornstarch sitting aside waiting. You're going to take your 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and mix those together in a nice big kind of flat-bottomed bowl. Now you're going to take your 1 cup of cold butter, which is 2 sticks of butter, and this is what I did. I peeled the paper off of the stick of butter and I let it sit on the paper. I cut 3 long strips of butter and laid those down. Then I cut them in half, and then I cut them in little cubes. And I did that to each stick of butter. So you get a whole bunch of little cubes of butter. Drop those into your flour mixture and cut them up into your flour mixture until they're cut up pretty well. I sometimes also take my fingers and then rub it into that mixture also to kind of get that butter broken up, and then just keep working with your pastry cutter until you get what looks like a bowl of crumbs, basically. Okay. You can also, like I said, do this in a food processor. It works fine, but do it however you want. Once you get the butter all cut into it, you want to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla, and I just drizzle it all over the top and then toss it around real good with a fork so you get the vanilla spread out all through it. Divide that in half, and you're going to take 1/2 of that, put it into your greased 9x13 pan, and press it in there to make a crust. Once you get that all nicely pressed in, you want to very carefully take your blueberries and sprinkle them over that base and try to spread them out so they make just one layer. Honestly, every time I've done this, I've made this recipe like 5 times now, and every time I've done it, the blueberries exactly cover that base. Like there's not a one blueberry on top of the others. It's amazing. And then make sure that your sugar cornstarch mixture is kind of sprinkled over there with them, spread out really well. Get that in there. Next, you want to take the remaining shortbread mixture and sprinkle 2 tablespoons of cold water over it and toss that around with a fork. And you can even take your hands and kind of clump it up, so it's in bigger clumps, and then sprinkle that over the top of the blueberries. Try to get it as even as you can, so it makes a nice topping. It might not cover completely, but it'll cover pretty much. Once you get that done, you're going to bake that in a 350-degree oven for 45 to 50 minutes. The one I just made took 50 minutes, so it'll take that full time. Take it out when it's done. It should be lightly browned on the top, and let it cool completely before you cut it. And this sets up really nice. It takes a good while to cool, but it sets up really nice, and it really tastes like shortbread with a blueberry filling. So you want it to be nice and cool before you cut it, and you can either cut it into bars, which you get 24 bars out of it, or you can cut it into 16 squares like you would do a cake. And it's basically, it's a larger bar. That's what it is. But it works really well either way. If you cut it in the bigger pieces, you can serve it with a bit of whipped cream on it, which is really good. The bar cookie itself is really, really good. To be honest, these are best eaten fresh, but they'll keep for like 2 to 3 days in an airtight container really well. But they're so good eaten fresh. So if if you want to have something for a nice dessert and you make this earlier in the day so that it's cold and ready to cut, it would be very impressive. It's really good, very simple, and you get this delicious, intense blueberry filling with a beautifully crisp shortbread sort of crust, and it's very good. I really enjoyed this a lot. It's very easy to make, but I loved it, especially since, the blueberries were on sale. You can make it really quick, so we got to enjoy a lot of this spring. So I hope you give it a try, because I think you'll enjoy it too.
And make sure to check us out online on Facebook and Instagram at Mary Mac Bakehouse, on Twitter at Mobile Mary Mac and Mary Mac Podcast, and on our website, marymacpodcast.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.